The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon. I'm here with our beloved channel member, Ryan. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm doing pretty well. It's going to be us today. It's going to be the Ryan and Zach, unless someone shows up late, which is totally cool if they do. But for the meantime, it's just going to be us. We got some fun topics to talk about, I think, today. I want to hear your thoughts on the Superman suit. I gave mine a little bit on Zach Milne Talks Live this past Wednesday, but we're going to talk about what we think of the Superman suit, what we think it might reveal about the upcoming movie. Lord of the Rings is coming back in 2026. We've got a new writer for Godzilla X Kong, and he's got a decent track record. We'll talk about that. And then Planet of the Apes, they are planning for more installments. How many installments? We'll talk about that as well. But first, man, let's kick it off with this. Let's bring this trying something different today. Let's bring this on screen. See if I can do this. There we go. Oh. Bam. There it is. This is, of course, the Man of Steel, the long-awaited Superman suit from James Gunn. This was dropped on, I believe, Monday? Might have been Tuesday. But yeah, this is something we've been waiting for a while. At least many people in the fandom have been waiting for a while to see David Cornsweet officially in the suit. And the suit itself, like, it's a Superman suit. That's kind of how I feel about it. Is it looks like Superman. He looks like Superman. He's got the classic curl going on. Ryan, what do you think of this Superman suit? Was it what you were hoping to see? Do you have any theories or speculations about what the movie could mean based off this suit?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the texture detail going on. It's nice. It's a nice addition in the can of Superman suits. Like Christopher Reeves, the classic was just. It was essentially pajamas, cool looking pajamas, but pajamas. Yeah. They were very smooth and very clean. The Man of Steel was more textury, with like little almost dot-like on the surface.
I felt like I could feel what that suit felt like whenever Henry Cavill wore it.
Yeah. And this one, I don't know, looks like something you might find in a post-apocalyptic type situation. Not in a bad way. I like that. The S, I don't know. The S looks a little off, but then again, I mean, I feel like the S has always looked off in any iteration of the Superman suit. I mean, it's a giant S on a costume. I mean, it's inevitably going to look a little odd.
I think it looks good, though.
Yeah.
I think it seems to fit the Superman symbols that we've had in the past. Like, it's never been like a full-on just like perfect S. So I think it's very fitting. I think it looks great. What do you think of the background here? Do you think that has any indication about the movie itself? Do you think like this is going to be a scene from the movie? Because I'll tell you my thoughts on this right now. I think that this has nothing to do with the movie, to be honest with you. I think this is just like some cool background that they put on for this photo. This photo doesn't really like it doesn't feel like a scene from the movie to me. It feels like they sat him down in a chair, took the picture, but then added like some just photoshopped background in the back. Like there's something about it that I'm just like, I don't think that this is what the movie is going to look like. But what do you think about that? Do you think that this is an actual like scene that they're planning to put into the movie, or do you think this is just a background they came up with for the photo?
Well, I certainly hope not, because I mean, if something really is going on, it looks like it's like, well, time to go to work. It's like, move it, dude.
You're Superman. Spin around in the phone booth and get going.
Go out and laser someone. But as for the like little energy beam thing, it looks like they were like, well, the sky beam things. Here, let's just take that, flip it horizontally, and just call it a day, eh?
Yeah, no, it kind of, this photo kind of feels to me like if it is in the movie, this might be how they open it. Like, I feel like they might show us a Superman that has already been Superman for a while. Obviously, his suit's already kind of battened and beaten up and dirty. Whether or not he just didn't get around to washing it yet, or whether he was just in a fight, who knows? Obviously, he's already been in combat, and I feel like this could be the opening of the movie where we just see Superman in his day-to-day life. Maybe he just got home. By the way, if this is his loft, it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice place for Clark Kent to live. So good for Clark Kent if this is where he's living. Maybe he's just visiting Lois Lane tonight. I don't know. But
yeah, because I feel like now it's going to be interesting because like part of Superman's whole big origin story, something that like if you don't even include it, even the darkest chapters, a la Zack Snyder included, like he always works, for the
Daily Planet.
Daily Planet, thank you. I would have gotten it, but yeah, he always works for the Daily Planet, a print newspaper, and print newspapers are kind of dying.
Right.
I don't know. I'm interested to see if like they're just going to keep the classic. Oh, he works for the Daily Planet. People still buy newspapers, or if they're going to have to, modify it because for better Superman is like the like iconic American superhero, and well, the newspaper again. America did not invent the newspaper, but it's certainly a very integral part of the First Amendment identity to us, and so
right.
To not have Superman work for the Daily Planet would be maybe a little jarring, but who knows? We'll see how they reconcile the old with the new.
Yeah, it'll probably be all online at this point. The Daily Planet will probably
Yeah.
just be an article online. But yeah, anyways, that is the Superman suits from James Gunn, and it looks like Superman. Like I don't really have much to complain about. I don't have much to praise it for. It feels different enough from the rest of the suits, but still feels like Superman that I think they did a pretty good job with it. How would you overall thoughts on that suit?
I mean, I'll withhold my judgment until I see how it fits in with the set design and
Yeah.
costumes and other things. Because I feel like it's sort of like what happened with Apocalypse from the X-Men Apocalypse movie. Everyone was like, "Oh, it looks like that one dude from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie," And then the actual film came out. It was like, "Okay, this ain't terrible. This ain't terrible."
Right.
The film kind of was, but the costume design wasn't the worst thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's just take it to buy or sell then. Do we buy or sell the first suit for Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I buy it. Looks fine. I am like you though. I'm curious to see it in motion. Obviously, one of the most beloved film franchises ever is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. I mean, they're cinematic masterpieces. You ask any film buff, you ask any just average film goer, Lord of the Rings is up there with some of the greatest movies ever made of all time. Obviously, coming from Tolkien's original books, which are also beloved. The world is beloved. Everything about Lord of the Rings is pretty much beloved, except for that Amazon Prime show I hear. Apparently, that one wasn't great, and people are iffy on The Hobbit. But overall, Lord of the Rings, the core trilogy, is it. That is it for movie fans, and one of the beloved characters, one of the fan favorite characters is Gollum. And we have not had Lord of the Rings in quite some time. Again, Amazon Prime show, but we haven't really had the Peter Jackson version of Lord of the Rings since the Hobbit came out. When was that? 2013?
2012 was when they
2012 was the last one.
yeah.
So
Well,
over a decade. Over a decade ago was the last Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movie that we've gotten. And that is about to change because it came out the other day that we are getting a new Lord of the Rings movie in 2026. Peter Jackson returning, Andy Serkis returning, and it's going to be about none other than Gollum. This comes to us from Variety. And this is what they had to say. Warner Brothers is to release the new Lord of the Rings movie, The Hunt for Gollum, in 2026. Peter Jackson to produce and Andy Serkis to direct. Warner Brothers will release the first of its new batch of live-action The Lord of the Rings films in 2026, which will focus on Andy Serkis's Gollum. Now, that's interesting. The first of its new batch. So this is not just going to be a one and done. They are planning more Lord of the Rings live-action movies. We'll talk about that more in a second here. The original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the movie and will be involved every step of the way. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said during an earnings call on Thursday. The project is currently in the early stages of script development from writers Walsh and Bowens, along with Phoebe Gittins and Artie Papa. Oh my, I'm not going to be able to say that word. And we'll explore storylines yet to be told, Zaslav said. In a press release from Warner Brothers later Thursday morning, the studio revealed that the working title for the film is The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. Working title. I hope it stays that way because they need to think of something else. We'll talk about that in a second. And it'll be directed by It'll be directed by and star Andy Serkis in his iconic titular role. The film will be executive produced by Ken Kemmons with Serkis and the Imaginatarian's Jonathan Cavendish. And that comes to us once again from Variety. So, Ryan, lots of stuff in that article to kind of digest and kind of talk about. First of all, the fact that we're getting a new Lord of the Rings movie in 2026. Yeah, now, you hear the title Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, and I'll tell you right away I don't like the title. I don't like the title as a movie. To me, that sounds like a mini-series title, or that sounds like a video game almost title, The Hunt for Gollum. There's something about it that it doesn't have that cinematic feel of Lord. Like it's not a Demolition of Smaug. It's not a Fellowship of the Ring, Return of the King, Hunt for Gollum. It just has.
It sounds like a cable military action series with a budget to boot and everything.
Kind of all just the title, and again, it's just a title. It's just a title. It doesn't really have anything to do with the merit of the movie. But when you hear the title, it doesn't have the grandiose of the rest of the movie. So that's the first thing that sticks out to me. The second thing that sticks out to me is Gollum. They're bringing back Gollum. Not only are they bringing back Gollum with Andy Serkis, but Andy Serkis is also going to direct this movie, which I find very interesting. That seems like a lot of work for the man. I think that The Hunt for Gollum, I don't think it's going to be about Gollum. Based off what I'm hearing, I think that Andy Serkis will have a supporting role, but I think that this will more likely be about a group of characters going after the ring, going after Gollum, because Gollum has the ring, right? And I also think that they're not going to focus too much on the Gollum character in this movie. I think they're going to try and focus on a new set of characters, because we've seen Gollum's beginnings. We got to see the flashbacks in the beginning of Return of the King. We know how his story ends. We kind of know Gollum. I don't think we need a movie. He even popped up in the Hobbit films. So we've gotten a lot of Gollum. We kind of know this character at this point. I don't think we need another full movie set on Gollum. But if Gollum is the objective within the movie, where you can introduce new characters and expand the world more that way, I feel like that's what they're planning on doing. I feel like that's what they want to do. And I feel like that's why Andy Serkis is also directing, because he'll have a part to play in the movie, but I don't think he's going to be the crutch of the movie. I don't think he'll be like the whole movie himself. So I think that makes more sense why Andy Serkis is here. Also, another big positive for me, Peter Jackson producing, along with the original writers coming back. I mean, that's huge. That is, you get this band back together, and I mean, your potential for greatness just goes up based off of the original trilogy. Now, I'll throw it to you, Ryan. You hear all these things. You hear the pitch for The Hunt for Gollum. They're doing more Lord of the Rings. Are you excited, or do you think this is a cash grab?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous. I mean, I guess a few things. One, the title kind of reminds me of like the Hunt for Red October. It's like The Hunt for Gollum. But also, I guess the original writers coming back sounds good. Andy Serkis directing sounds good. Peter Jackson as producer, I don't know. Producers are a valuable part of movies, but in terms of like creatively speaking, I don't know. They're semi-useless. I mean, unless you're like, say James Cameron, where you're a director producer, then a producer has weight. But otherwise, they're the ones who get the resources moving around. But after that, I don't know. It's kind of like, even Deadpool made fun of it. It's like, from the studio that brought you 21 dresses, like, or however many dresses in that Katherine Heigl movie. Anyway, I digress. Also, I'm interested to see how it works out, because Andy Serkis directing. I feel like he's going to end up with like a Taika Waititi situation, because Taika Waititi, he directed Jojo Rabbit, and in that film he also plays imaginary Hitler. And so there were scenes where he had to direct the cast and crew dressed as Hitler. So it made for some awkward, and so with Andy Serkis, it'll be like for some scenes, he might, I could just imagine him in that mocap gear trying to direct everyone.
Yeah.
It's like,
All
and
those
stop
balls on
laughing.
him. We have T making
Hey,
it.
T.
He's joining us for the show. What's going on, man?
I made it,
You made
gentlemen.
it. Thank you so much for being
Apologize
here,
for
my
my
friend.
tardiness.
Totally cool. Totally okay. We're talking about the new Lord of the Rings movie that they just announced coming out in 2026. Did you have a chance to hear about this?
I did not, but I saw that you made the note that it was coming out in 2026, and I mean, Lord of the Rings, they're gonna make money. It is such a beloved franchise, but am I excited? Mm.
Yeah, so let me catch you up just a little bit on the story. So it's Lord of the Rings. It's going to be called The Hunt for Gollum. Andy Serkis is returning to play Gollum. He's also returning to direct. And Peter Jackson's on as a producer, and the original writers from the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings are coming back to pen the script.
So what I've learned in life is let's not doubt Andy Serkis. This guy he's different. Like he is a special human being. What he did in the Planet of the Apes series, what he did in the Lord of the Rings series. Um, I'm not gonna doubt that he can do both things. I'm intrigued now. Now that you say that, I'm more intrigued with seeing it because I just think he's like a generational talent, as they say in the sports realm. I think he is just he's a unique person, and I think he might have a unique vision. So I would love to see it.
All right, perfect. So what I'll throw also out there is, do you think that this is the movie that fans are wanting right now? Because like we were kind of talking about, Ryan and I were talking about, is Lord of the Rings has been kind of dormant, especially in the theaters recently. I mean, the last one came out, I believe, in 2012 was when the Battle of the Armies came out from The Hobbit. That was kind of the end of Peter Jackson's run. It's been over a decade. We did have that Amazon Prime show, but that wasn't very beloved at all. So they're going to be coming back in 2026 with a new Lord of the Rings. It's now, look, they got Peter Jackson producing, they got the original writers back, they got Andy Serkis back. That is great. But is Gollum is going backwards in Lord of the Rings the right way to go? Because like I was talking with Ryan as well, we saw the origins of Gollum in the flashback at the beginning of the Return of the King. We know how his story ends. We saw him in The Hobbit. We saw him in the original trilogy. We got a lot of Gollum. We know a lot about Gollum. And has Gollum been played out? I think is the question I would be asking is Gollum played out? Is this the right hook to bring the fans into the theater and get new audiences interested in Lord of the Rings at this point? What would you think, T?
Probably not. Not when you just framed it like that. It was like, man, do I really want to see Gollum on the big screen? Like, I don't know. I know he's not going to carry the. Yeah, exactly. Like, I know he's not going to carry the majority of the weight of the movie. There has to be like an
New
ensemble, right?
characters.
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings is always an ensemble thing. It's not really one person who really is, the cast. So when you frame it like that, no. Like I don't want to see, like I don't think that that's probably a good idea. But at the same time, there are some Lord of the Rings stands who, no matter what they put out, they're people who watch the Ring of Fire because it is in the Lord of the Rings lore. So they're definitely it's gonna have a market for people now. How it does, like how they receive it, is gonna be, of course, totally up to how good the movie is. But I don't think it's I don't think he's the hook. It's just once they produced by Peter Jackson, like literally that's gonna have people salivating. Just that part right there, produced by the award-winning director Peter Jackson or the original Lord of the Rings, like however they frame it, like I think that's gonna get people kind of hooked in. Um, I'll watch it, of course, because I'm intrigued. I'm actually intrigued to see what it's gonna turn out to be.
Yeah, I'm intrigued too, for sure, but I can't help but wonder about the story. And I can't help but wonder, like, it's not that the story can't be great, especially when you got the original writers coming back. You've got a great team here assembling it once again. My big hesitation though is the story, because what do you do with the story that makes it interesting? Because we know that he gets the ring. We know that he has it until Bilbo Baggins takes it from him. And then we know he will eventually try to get it back and then will eventually die with it. So if you set this movie, let's say this movie, it has to be before Bilbo Baggins, I would imagine. I imagine the hunt for Gollum is centered around trying to get the ring from Gollum, a new set of characters, trying to because he has the ring for like centuries until Bilbo Baggins takes it, right? So if this movie, let's just say this movie is about a new set of characters going after Gollum, trying to possess the ring. Is there going to be tension? Is there going to be any, because eventually, like in the end of the story, we know that they won't get it, right? So Ryan, do you see a way that they can make a story centered around Gollum work that will keep us intrigued and keep us invested, and also have some fresh, new, unique, just fresh eyes on it? Or do you think that they're going to end up having to just do something where we kind of know how it's going to end anyways?
Well, I mean, I think it all just kind of comes down to like how well they can flesh out new characters, because I feel like characters are kind of what people draw people in. You can have the most derivative of plots, like Star Trek Into Darkness, The Force Awakens. They aren't the most original of plots, and that's a kind of a generous statement there. But people love the characters, and both those films made good chunks of dough at the box office. Also, as long as this movie is better than whatever that petty excuse of a Gollum video game that came out a few years back was, this film won't be in bad hands, because like that. They released an apology for how bad that video game was. You know how bad your game has to be? Not even the people who did Fallout 76 released an apology note.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Oh, man, that's funny. I guess we could take it to buy or sell for this one, guys. A new Lord of the Rings movie, The Hunt for Gollum. Do we buy or sell it? I am intrigued by the talent they have. They're bringing back the original writers. They're bringing back Andy Serkis. I'm all for bringing Lord of the Rings back. I don't think this is the one to do it. I think I'm going to sell it. I could be won over if the movie's great. I could be won over, but I don't know. There's something about it. The more I think about it, I'm just kind of like, this doesn't feel like it's it for me. But we'll see. We'll see what they do with it.
Man, Andy Serkis is gonna at you when this movie makes $1 billion. He's like, Zach Mill, I told you.
Oh, I think it'll make money. I just don't know about the merit of the story. But I will tell you, after watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the motion capture work on this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Because Gollum looked amazing back in the early aughts. I can't even imagine what he's going to look like. He's going to look so disgusting. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. One of the cinematic universes going on right now that isn't talked about as much as the DCU and the MCU, but nonetheless is going very strong, is the Monsterverse. We got Godzilla. We got Kong in there. We've got their show on Apple TV going on. Godzilla versus Kong did well, especially for pandemic times. Godzilla X Kong is doing pretty well right now in the theaters. So it's no mystery and it's no surprise. They're going to do a third one. And they never really made an official announcement of doing a third one. They were like, well, let's wait and see how Godzilla X Kong does. And now we're seeing how Godzilla X Kong is doing, and it's doing pretty well. So they are going forward with another one. And they've got a new writer attached, and he is someone who has worked on Spiderverse and other things that they're hiding in the article. But we will talk about what he's worked on. And he's coming on to do the next Godzilla X Kong. This comes to us from Hollywood Reporter. And it says that Godzilla X Kong follow-up enlists Shang-Chi scribe David Callahan to write the movie. And a bunch of ads popping up. Here's what they say. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings screenwriter Dave Callahan is going from the Marvelverse to the Monsterverse. The scribe, known for his action acumen, has been tapped to pen the next installment of Legendary's Godzilla Kong monster movie series. The hiring comes in the wake of the box office success of Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, which has grossed close to $555 million worldwide. That is the biggest haul since 2017's Kong Skull Island, which peaked at $568 million. Empire, which is still in theaters, may also be one of the most profitable, if not the single most profitable, of the 5 movies in the series, as it only cost $135 million. That is good. Good on them for that. Yeah. Per sources. Thus, Legendary is keen to keep the monster juice flowing. Now, we talked about this a little bit on Zach Milne Talks Live. They said they were going to do more movies. It's no mystery they were going to do more movies. So that part to me isn't really news. This part, though, with Callahan is, and going further into his resume, yes, he did Spiderverse, but listen to what he also did. Callahan is known for originating the Expendables action franchise, worked on movies such as Mortal Kombat Reboot, Wonder Woman 1984, and of course, he was well regarded in Shang-Chi and co-wrote Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which ended up being a Best Animated Feature Oscar. Callahan is currently writing the 3rd and final film in the series, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Now, that is great. It's these other movies up here that I'm a little bit, I kind of lost there, but I'm a little bit worried about. So, that's it, guys. That's the news. Godzilla X Kong 3 is happening. They're going to be bringing on this new writer. Now, I think the first question is, do you guys want to see a Godzilla X Kong 3 or just another movie in this Monsterverse? Has the Monsterverse been tickling your funny bone? Have you been enjoying this Monsterverse so far? We'll start with you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on the Monsterverse, and are you looking forward to them doing a 3rd one?
Well, the Monsterverse has kind of been a bit hit or miss with me. I enjoyed Godzilla 2014 when it came out. I was kind of bored by the Kong Skull Island movie. It just the characters didn't interest me that much. Same for Godzilla King of the Monsters. Godzilla versus Kong, I feel like they finally managed to get some fun, engaging characters made for a nice B movie. Godzilla X Kong was essentially versus, but with a little more lore regarding Kong.
Mm-hmm.
As for, do I want a 3rd movie? I mean, you'd have to do like something really different because, like I said, X Kong was just kind of a copy, like a fun copy, but it's kind of like, what new can you bring to this series? Like, you've already done the monsters, Godzilla fighting all the monsters. You've already done the Kong fighting all the monsters on that island. You've done Godzilla and Kong teaming up. I don't know. If you can find a good writer to come up with a new situation, sure, yeah. But it's like, I don't know. What more is there to find? Because it sort of reminds me of how, like, in X Kong, it's like, oh, the center of the world isn't the center of the world. There's another center at that world, but It's like, how much deeper can you go?
True. Yeah, good point. T, what about you? What have you been thinking of these movies so far, and are you looking forward to a 3rd one?
No. Short answer, no. Like, I'm just not. I enjoyed Kong Skull Island. like, I think the setting, like, it was set back in like the Vietnam era or something like that, like Tom Hiddleston, like Brie Larson, like that was a stacked cast. And I think those human characters to me were more fleshed out than any other group of humans and any of the other Godzilla. Like, they're not good. Like, you don't go into these movies for the story. Like, the story is almost irrelevant. You go to see big monsters beat up big monsters and crush cities and sleep in the Coliseum and like, that's what you go to see. Like, I got so much flack for not liking Godzilla X Kong. Like, I just thought that movie was terrible. Like, I don't enjoy, like, I've never been a Godzilla fan, so it just missed me. I haven't seen Godzilla -1.
Oh,
so you gotta watch that one.
You will love that one then. If you didn't like X Kong, you'll like -1.
I have to find it. Like, it never played in the theaters here. I think it did, but like, it was playing like at weird times during the day. Like, all theaters here, like, if it's not a really popular movie, it's gonna play it like once in a day and then play like the popular movies throughout, at least the AMC theaters. And I have an AMC pass, and I'm not paying. I wouldn't pay to go see like any extra money to go see a Godzilla movie. And I've heard great things. So once it comes out on streaming, like once I can get it, well, I don't have to pay for it, then then I'll watch it. But I just I'll watch this one. I didn't review Godzilla X Kong because I literally was shunned for not liking this movie. People I work with were just like, "You didn't love this movie? That movie was great." And I was like, it's just not my thing. Like there's certain things that are people's thing, and Godzilla movies are just not my thing. And this was just
All
a
right.
big Godzilla movie that involved King Kong.
All right. Fair enough. So with that in mind now, with all of us kind of saying our piece, and I've been enjoying these movies. I really did enjoy Godzilla X Kong. Saw it twice. Saw it with my brother a second time, and I just have fun with it. I think it's great. So not great, but great for what it is. So this headline comes out the other day. Spiderverse writer is jumping on to do Godzilla X Kong, and we got the Ace Avenue joining us in here.
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Hey.
How's it going? We're talking about Godzilla and Kong getting a third installment, and they're bringing on a new writer who's he co-wrote Across the Spider-Verse. So that's kind of the big headline, is that the Across the Spider-Verse writer is coming on to do Godzilla X Kong 3, and he co-wrote it. So not taking anything away from him, like he's still a part of the writing, and the writing for Across the Spider-Verse is very good. And when I heard this headline, I went, wow. They are getting a quality writer here. Like, this is great. Like, this feels like they're going in a very different direction. Then I looked at the rest of his resume, and it's not that it's a bad resume. Like, I liked Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. I don't love it as much as a lot of Marvel fans did, but I liked it quite a bit. Wonder Woman 1984 wasn't for me. I didn't think that was very good.
I don't think that's for anybody.
It was for me, but okay.
And The Expendables is not for me. I don't really care for The Expendables, which he also did. And I didn't finish the Mortal Kombat reboots 2021. Didn't finish that one, but I didn't finish it because I wasn't enjoying it all that much. So that's also something he's done. So he's got some things on there that I'm like, that's good. And then he's got some things on there where I'm like, it does kind of fit the MonsterVerse when you think about it. With that in mind, Ace, I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts on Godzilla and Kong movies from the MonsterVerse thus far? Are you excited for a third one? And does this writer coming on move the needle for you, excitement-wise? More excited, less excited for the next installment of this MonsterVerse?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the MonsterVerse. Just because it lacks from a plot standpoint, in my opinion. Now Godzilla -1, I was all for. I was actually pleasantly surprised by that type of movie, but a movie like Godzilla versus Kong, I just feel like they're milking this franchise. But you know what? As long as their fans enjoy it, because from a fan standpoint, the fans love it. You know what I'm saying? It gets a high audience rating, and I have a good friend that is a huge fan of the MonsterVerse, and it checks every single box for him. So in my opinion, as long as the fans continue to enjoy it, and I don't know exactly what numbers it kind of does in the box office, but they're going to continue to make these. It just seems like they're going to continue to milk this type of franchise. Like I said, overall, not a big fan, and them bringing in a different director. Like I said, I like Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was one of the better movies in Phase 4. You know what I'm saying? But you have to bring in, I thought, yeah, definitely. But at the same time, too, Phase 4, that's not really saying much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a low bar.
So, but Shang-Chi was one of the better ones. Expendables was a consistent franchise that they decided to continue it consistently, put it out. You know what I'm saying? But as far as bringing in a new director, they need to just stick to I think their bread and butter, because I think that's what the fans want.
The Adam Wingard will still be the director. He's just coming on to write.
Okay. I just think they need to stick to what their bread and butter is. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, like casual fans like myself, would like them to tell more of a human story. You know what I'm saying? But obviously the main focus is the monsters. It doesn't turn me on because it's just all about destruction. Like, and a lot of times it's just like what really turned me off to the Godzilla movies is like, especially like the monsters are fighting in the background. And then, like, I haven't seen the latest ones. I believe the last one I did see was Kong versus Godzilla. But I do remember a lot of them like fighting in the background, and as soon as they're about to fight, all of a sudden you pan to the humans running away from destruction, and I'm just like, this isn't good to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even getting really see the fighting at all. So, I could take it or leave it at this point. Like I said, I'm not really super invested.
All right, fair enough. T, you've made it clear where you stand on these movies. Now a big complaint for these movies is that they are written horribly. they like the action is really all they have going for them, which I wouldn't argue. I think that's a fair assessment. But does this to UT indicate at all that they're trying to take the MonsterVerse more seriously? Like, okay, this guy did Across the Spiderverse. That's a quality movie and nominated for an Oscar. Do you think that they're bringing him in to punch up the script more, make it a more engaging story as well as great action? Or do you think they're with him more so for how he did Wonder Woman 1984 and those other kind of movies where the writing probably won't get much better in this third installment? How do you see that going?
I'm with the second part, right? I don't think because I don't think they're trying to win Oscars with this movie, right? So Godzilla -1, I think that was a passion project for whoever made that, right? Those were fans
Toho.
who grew up watching Godzilla, right? They grew up. That is something that's like deep in their lore, right? Deep in their fabric. Like the people who are making Godzilla X Kong, they're just seeing money, right? They just have. And the fact that they made that for 133, that was a really beautiful movie. Like it looked great. 133 million is a budget like that. I mean, that's like a budget film for the CG that they got. So if they can keep the budget low and they get a writer who's not the hottest writer in the world, but he's got some hits on his pen, like, so they're just like, we're going to rock with this. They don't really care about that. He can pen. That could be Wonder Woman 92 for all they care. Like they just want big monsters to fight big monsters, and they want to make over $500 million to turn some type of profit. So I don't think he like moves the needle story wise, but like you really don't. Nobody really goes into those for the story. Now, if it has a great story, that's a plus. But like most of those fans, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but like you're just not there for that. Like I don't think anybody goes to those movies to see Godzilla -1 like that. I truly don't. I didn't go. I went to go see monsters fight monsters because that's just what I assumed it was going to be.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a fair assessment. Absolutely. Because I'm one of those fans. I don't go for the story. In fact, I go expecting the story to be crap. I just want big action. And that's what I got a lot of in Godzilla X Kong. So while the story was kind of crappy, I still enjoyed the action. I got what I wanted. But Ryan, you hear this, and one thing that's kind of been brought up is Godzilla -1 quite a bit. And do you think that there's any chance that they are looking at Godzilla -1 and being like, huh, we want a little bit of that same praise. Like we want to be taken a little bit more seriously like that movie. We can get there if we get a better writer. Do you think that there's any thought process there for them with this choice? Or do you think that this is, we're going to get the multiverse of Godzilla Kong, so they got a multiverse writer to come in here and then give us the Kong and Godzilla multiverse? What do you think of all this, man?
No, I mean, I know there's probably some calculus going into how they pick their writers, but I don't think, for better or worse, I don't think they're trying to go for -1 tier, praise. But I don't know, a bit of a rebuttal. Like, again, I don't think Godzilla X Kong has like teach it in a screenwriting class level story, but I will debate a little bit the terrible story. I mean, even if your story isn't like super well thought out, Christopher Nolan, flashback, hyper structured, you still gotta have good pacing. You still gotta have at least semi decent characters. And for me, Godzilla X Kong, it's like there's a little bit of an arc regarding the little child in her home. It dodges a few cliches every here and there. And it's charming. Again, I will defend them a little bit because like Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and Kong Skull Island, for me, those are like the peak of, wow, this is bad writing. But like for the other films, it's like, okay, it's a B movie. It's a fun B movie. It's got some charming characters. It's got decent pacing. The special effects are, again, like for $135 million. The effects look like something you'd see in a Marvel movie for like nearly double the budget.
Absolutely, yeah. No, props to them for keeping the budget that low, for sure. And like even like with how much Kong was in the movie, like that impressed me. Like how much Kong was like the focus and how much we got with his story, and the budget was that low. And not just him, but there was multiple Kongs. So yeah, I don't know what Marvel's excuse is, but they gotta pull back a little bit more on these budgets. But with that said, guys, do we buy or sell the Spiderverse writer coming on to do Godzilla and Kong 3? I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, I'll buy it. It's gonna be a movie. It'll have a beginning, middle, and end.
Put that on the poster. Godzilla versus Kong 3. It begins. It has a middle. It ends. You know.
Exactly.
It has a middle and an end. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Hulk smash.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of a movie that also involves some apes, let's talk about this. So right now, in theaters, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is playing. And Ryan, you have not seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, am I correct in that?
Yeah, you are correct. I'm seeing it later today, not too long after this little session of ours.
So no
awesome.
Spoilers.
Perfect. So we will not talk spoilers for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But is it okay if we talk like vaguely around like some generalizations of the movie?
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but we won't spoil anything.
All right. Thank you.
So for this topic, we have to go over to Dark Horizons, because now that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is out, the filmmakers behind the movie are giving us a little bit of an idea of where they're thinking of going with the franchise. And this comes to us once again from Dark Horizons. Apes is planning to go for 9 films. The original Planet of the Apes franchise ran for 5 movies before fizzling out, but the writers of this week's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes have a far larger plan than that. Married scribes Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver has been working with the film since the 1992 thriller The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. They followed up that with a number of films, including 1997's adaptation of the Preston Child novel The Relic. They really broke through in 2011 when they wrote Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which successfully revived the flagging franchise. They subsequently worked on Matt Reeves' even more acclaimed follow-ups, Dawn and War, along with writing work on the first Jurassic World and the second and third Avatar films. Which, by the way, that gets me more excited for the Avatar films, knowing that they wrote the second and third one. Now they return as producers of Kingdom, and speaking with THR, the Hollywood Reporter, they were asked how far out they're planning these movies and how many more we can expect. With Kingdom, we really feel like we've set the foundation for at least 2 more movies with these characters, but we'll see. A lot of it depends on the audience's reaction too. When you first came up with the idea, the Apes franchise way back, we saw 9 movies. We thought that is crazy ambitious, but here we are. We're at 4. I saw 9. I don't know if we'll make it to 9. I would love it. We're spoken to not just Wes and Josh and producer Joe Hartwick Jr., but to Steve Aspel and Scott Aversano at 20th Century about what these movies can be. Of course, a lot will depend on how successful these films are, with the movie reportedly projected to pull in 21 to 22 million today and 52 to 55 million for the weekend. So that comes to us from Dark Horizons. So again, we won't talk spoilers, but before seeing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I would have said, I don't want this. You know, the trilogy was good, was great, actually. Rise, Dawn, War, Caesar's Story. And when War ended back in 2017, there was a lot of people, myself included, that set it up perfectly to just go right into the Charlton Heston movie. That set it up perfectly. Like, we're at the point now where you can just go into that 1968 movie and you're all caught up. And then when they announced Kingdom, I was like, 4th installment of a trilogy that's already great. Like, you know, there's always that worrisome there whenever that happens. So I did see Kingdom. I saw Kingdom on Thursday night, and I loved it. I absolutely loved this movie. I won't go into spoilers. I won't go into anything like that. But I thought the continuation of the story from where the trilogy left off to these many, 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 many years later, where we pick up in this story, it fit like a glove. It fit so perfectly with the trilogy, to the point that I no longer felt at the end of War where I was like, oh, now we're set up to go into the Charlton Heston film. I'm like, oh no, this is its own new thing. I don't think we're going to go to. I don't think they're building up to the Charlton Heston film anymore. I think that they have a plan for their own version of how this world is going to go. And I won't go into that because Ryan hasn't seen the movie once again. But when I saw Kingdom and I saw them kind of planting the seeds of their own story for this franchise, I was hoping that we would hear something like this because it felt like they have a plan for this. And now it sounds like that is true. It sounds like they have this plotted out. They have a plan. They want to get to 9 films. And the story that I think they're trying to tell between humanity and apes, I think 2 trilogies to tell that story is actually really good because I think there's a lot of fleshing out they need to do to get there. So I'll throw it to you first, T. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, do you see them getting to 9 films with the first 3 included? They're including the first 3. So it'd be at this point it'd be 5 more. Do you see this franchise after seeing Kingdom going for 5 more movies in your mind, or do you think that they're running out of steam already? What are your thoughts on all this after seeing Kingdom?
So after seeing Kingdom, this is definitely the first part in the trilogy. Like it's literally lined up to be that.
Yeah.
I disagree with your take on them not lining up the Charlton Heston. I think that this trilogy is lining up for the landing of the Icarus. Like I think this arc is gonna build a world so that and hopefully they do it better than Mark Wahlberg. Like whatever that was. Like I don't want to see that again because I never watched the 70s, Planet of the Apes movies. I've seen them on TV and they just look terrible. And then you have the Mark Wahlberg, which was my introduction truly to the Planet of the Apes. That concept of like an astronaut landing and finding out that he actually is on Earth. That's the world they built now. We'll feel more for the apes because back they're just dirty apes, right? That whole it's damn bloody apes. Like that whole concept was just lost because we never humanized the apes, and they've done a fantastic job truly humanizing their journey from the first Caesar to now the Kingdom. And I didn't love Kingdom because I truly hold that original trilogy so hot. Like that is by far my favorite movie trilogy because I don't see a bad movie in that. Like every movie trilogy has great movies, and then they have that one bad one. Like that one is like, damn, like did we really need Reloaded or like whatever the third Matrix? Like did we need that one?
Last Stand.
Return of the Jedi. Oh my God! Don't get me started. That's terrible. But like each one of them have like one that's just not. It's either the second or third one. Usually the first one just opens you up to that world. But I just didn't see any bad one in that first Planet of the Apes trilogy. But this movie really does set up like me, of course. Fantasy writing is like, man, they could go so many different ways with how they set it up, and it's a wonderfully shot, beautiful movie. I'm looking for I'm down for 9 movies. Like I'm completely on. Will they make it? It all depends on how much money they make. Like if they make, if each movie successfully ups the ante and brings in more money, then for sure we're gonna get that. We're definitely gonna get 2 more movies after this one for sure.
Yeah,
I think that's already like almost written in stone.
Yeah. I think I should clarify just a little bit. It's not that I don't think they're going to do a Charlton Heston original movie type storyline in the future. Maybe I just don't think that these movies are going to get attached to the originals anymore. I thought I thought that these were like prequels, like to those movies. Like this is how it happened, and then you can watch these and lead into it's not. I think it's a different story than I think those sets of films and these sets of films are now separate from each other. I don't
For
think
sure.
they have any connection to each other. That like even in Kingdom, again, no spoilers, there are like inklings of other ape storylines from the previous franchise kind of in this movie in their own way, but they're not like remakes of those stories, or they don't connect to that franchise. So I think it might be possible. Nothing to do with Kingdom, by the way, just like theorizing. I think it might be possible that they could do like down the line. Maybe they do have an astronaut come down and they do a Charlton Heston like storyline within their context of the movie that's focused on the apes, because that original movie is focused on Charlton Heston. He's the protagonist. They would do it where this new character Noah or whoever, maybe they do it in another trilogy with a new character, but that ape would be the protagonist, and then Charlton Heston would be, in their mind, the antagonist, and they would tell it from that angle. I could see that happening, but I don't think that these movies are all connected to that original film anymore. I think that's kind of what I meant. But Ace, without going in too much detail, Kingdom, do you see this movie leading? Do you see this movie having enough seeds planted that you could see another 5 films grow from it, or do you think 9 is a bit ambitious to get to?
Yeah. Before I answer, Ryan, you did see Rise and all the other ones, right?
I have seen the Rise, Dawn, and War.
Okay.
And I've not seen the 1968 film, but I mean the film's over 5 decades old. So, however, to tease dismay, I have seen the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yeah, well, I think we all wish that we didn't, but yeah,
that's bad.
But the reason why I had asked Ryan is because like about the previous trilogy is because the way that I think the seeds are already planted, in my opinion. They've been doing it since the first one with the putting Easter eggs here and there. Like, they know what direction they ultimately want to go to, which is ultimately going to be Icarus. Now, there are some scenes in this movie Kingdom, I should say, that might lead you to believe that as well. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like when it comes to 9, if you told me 9, they only have to do 5 more. I think that's something that's very obtainable, especially because of how consistently great this franchise has been from movie to movie. I say this all the time. This is probably the most underrated franchise, but probably the best setup franchise from Rise to Dawn to War to Kingdom. Each movie sets up the next one perfectly, and it's just so well done. I can see them getting to 9. And I'm hoping that they get to the 9. But like I was talking to T, when T popped in the other day, I just want to get through this trilogy first. Let's not, put the horse in the cart in front of the horse. Let's finish out this trilogy, see how it does with the fans, because let's see how it does budget wise as well. But the reception, fan wise, everything I've seen has been incredible. I haven't seen not too many people really down on this movie. Like to T's point, T was saying, he likes the other ones better, but that's not a knock on this movie. It's just because they're all great. So it's really hard one of them has to finish in last place. You know what I'm saying? But in my opinion, if I was to do a ranking, I would probably put this a little bit over War, in my opinion, just because of how beautifully set up it was. And War kind of was just like your generic type movie, but this one felt different. This one felt like I forgot who said it, but this one felt like a new hope of the Planet of the Kingdom of the Apes movies, where it's setting up the next trilogy and giving us different characters, which I was worried about. I was worried that would we be able to connect with these characters like we did with Caesar? Caesar was such a compelling character and iconic character, but now that you've set up this, Ryan, if you like those movies, you'll like these characters going forward, and you're going to want to see more of what they have set up because of how beautifully done it is. Not to mention, from 2011, I think the first movie dropped. We could all see just from the trailer, and the ones that have seen it, the CGI and FX department looks incredible. Like, I felt like I was looking at us talking. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't a second that I was taken out of this movie. But I'm rooting for it to get to 9, I should say. They only have 5 more. But like I said, they have the pieces in place where if Icarus and I agree with both of you guys, don't tie them into those movies. Do your own version of those movies. If that's what you're ultimately going to get to, that can be the next trilogy. But I see this movie set up conflict perfectly that can be wrote out for the next 2 movies. And then if you want to go the Icarus route for the final 3, it's there for the taking, in my opinion. So I do believe that they can get to 9. It's just all about us as fans going out and supporting it and it doing well enough, because I don't believe the next one is greenlit. I believe that they're waiting to see how the reception is going to do. But from a fan standpoint, yes. Money-wise, is it going to blow out the box office? Possibly. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still early and it just came out, but I'm all for it. I'm rooting. Let's just put it like this. I'm rooting for them to get to 9.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. The audience does bring questions to my mind a little bit of like, I have seen some fans or just people online in general saying like, this was boring. You know, like this, like I've seen some, like that seems to be the big negative against this movie, is that it was boring and uninteresting. And I think what's unique about these movies as blockbusters, especially Kingdom, is, yeah, there's action, but they're not action packed. It's not about the action. It's about the characters. And they spend a lot of time with the characters. And for me, I really, really cared about the characters. And I enjoyed how much they let the world breathe and how much they let us invest in it. But the cinema score did come out this morning, and it got a B cinema score from the audience. And the previous trilogy, you had Rise, you had War, which I believe Rise did like 546 million worldwide, and I believe War did 700 million worldwide, because I just looked these up last night. Dawn did 700 million, and then War took a big step down. It did 300 million worldwide. So something happened between Dawn and War where the audience dropped off a bit. And I would just be curious to see if this is the franchise that general audiences want now. Because even with Kingdom, it's more thought-provoking. I found a big central theme of the movie was a distortion of religion.
Oh, absolutely. I picked up on that too.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like kind of just religious themes to it. How religion can be used for better, for worse, how people can manipulate it and twist it in their own words and rise to power through it as well. There was a lot of that. That's kind of what the franchise seems to be more about, is those more thought-provoking, deeper themes than the big action blockbuster explosion kind of blockbuster action, right? So I don't know. I'm curious to see if the audience will hold on for 5 more films. Because even we saw in the original trilogy that like is beloved by a lot of movie fans. After 2 films, some dropped off, and it was a pretty big significant drop off. Yeah. And I think that this movie is more in line with a story of War than it was with Dawn, because War was a very like character study, personal journey. I felt the same with Kingdom. I'll ask you first, T. 5 more films. Do you think the audience is going to hold on if they keep the movies going this thought-provoking and with the philosophy and all that stuff the same? Or do you think audiences are going to feel, I want more action in my blockbusters?
Yes, to the last part. So me and Ace, we talked about this, or he mentioned it a few days on his live stream. I don't think saying that you're going to put 9 films out does your movies any favor. Like, because to me, like, these movies have to, like, if you're trying to put out a big budget blockbuster, like if that's what you're calling this, it needs to be an event, right? Like if you're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to put out 5 more movies, like, why do I need to go see the next one? I could just wait for all 5 of them to come out and then I watch them all on a box set, right? Like that's to me is how a lot of consumers are thinking now. Like just like with streaming, right? If you download all the streaming episodes in one sitting, then I'm gonna watch it that one day and I'm never gonna go back to it. But if it's coming out every week, like it becomes an event. It becomes more of like, all right, I'm gonna make sure I block out this time to try to catch it, or I have to make sure I catch it next week because I know they're not the same, but at the same time, they kind of are, right? Like, I'm going to watch it because I love the franchise.
Yeah.
But is the general public going to watch it? No, they're going to want to watch Godzilla beat up Kong, right? They're going to, they want to watch the big budget fights, and this movie was not that. And that's no knock on it because it was a really phenomenal movie. Nor was the other Planet Apes. War was war, right? But it wasn't big scale. It wasn't this large scale thing. When I thought of war, I think this large scale thing where you're going to have millions of humans and millions of apes fighting, but it was a very small scale story told with so much heart and soul. I thought, like because it was from the point of Caesar and Woody Harrelson is just Woody. I love Woody Harrelson. He's like one of my favorites. But I long story, to shorten it, I don't think the general audience is going to stick around for all 9 movies. They should have held that close to vest and keep giving us epic movies every 3-4 years, like so they become events. They don't become, oh man, this just came out last year. I'm not gonna go see the next one. I'll wait till the box set comes out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Ryan, you haven't seen the movie yet, so I will kind of change the question a little bit for you as well. A big complaint with Star Wars, especially the sequel trilogy, is there was no plan. It was, JJ gets a movie, Ryan gets a movie, and then JJ can come back and do his movie. It made it feel very inconsistent. Is there a confidence for you going into Kingdom, knowing now that the writers who have been here since Rise have a plan in their mind to get to 9 films? Does that fill you with more confidence, or do you feel like T, where it's like, I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know. This situation sort of reminds me of remember back when they tried to reboot Power Rangers in 2017? Yeah. I remember the guy, the head guy, he was like, "There's going to be 6 movies." That was like, oh, that's adorable. You think you're going to get a Saga?
They should have. I love that movie. They should.
Underrated.
It didn't do well though.
The fans
did not do
messed
well.
that one up. And
yeah.
To T's point, that could be an example. The fans, could dictate a lot of the movie's success. But go ahead, Ryan. Finish your point.
Yeah, and as for comparison, I don't know. Again, in this environment of hyper sanitized, just increasingly samey blockbusters. I don't necessarily want every franchise to be ultra, over engineered to be okay, this tiny little thing here has got to be pay off in a big way, and 25 movies down the line. That said, I mean, again, this is from a team writing duo, and again, as someone who likes to write, I don't know, I'm interested to see where they go, because I read the full interview that you posted and the other day, and I don't know, I'm interested to see what they got cooking.
All right, perfect. All right, guys. Well, with that, I mean, yeah, they're planning for 9 ape films. Do we buy or sell? Let's not buy or sell that they're going to happen. Buy or sell that they can get there. Do we buy or sell that they can actually get to 9 films out of this franchise? I think they can.
I don't. When you speak, Zach, you just kind of spark off a lot of different thoughts. And I just don't think the general, because War was a great film, and the fact that War did the lowest out of all, and the War, I think a lot of people hold Dawn and War higher than they hold Rise, which I don't, but there are a lot of people who really enjoy, if they can keep the budgets, low enough, I think that they can do it. But if I don't know how much this one, but the way it looked,
I think it was 150.
Wow.
That's not bad.
That's amazing.
Bad.
I think it was 150 if I remember correctly.
Which, considering you can see where the budget is going to,
yes,
it's well worth it, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's why I go ahead.
With that being said, then yes, I think they can. I will change my answer if that, because that is a solid budget for what we saw. Yeah. Man, that's wow.
I'll switch the thumbs up too, because $150 million. I mean, this is on-set location. Well, what looks to be on-set location.
Oh yeah, it is
shooting, and you've got motion capture technology going on. I'm sure you got visual effects companies out the wazoo. Those ain't cheap. Well,
there are sequences in this movie where I was sitting there and I was thinking of like the behind the scenes thought process of like, we're going to do this with knowing that we have to motion capture all this fur and hair on top of these characters and put them in the situation and add CGI elements onto this situation. And I was just like, the ambition that went into this movie with the effects it blows my mind. I really do hope that they win the Oscar for visual effects. Like, I love Dune Part 2.
Ooh.
Dune Part 2 looks great. This felt more impressive to me just because of the sheer ambition that they went for. And it's there's no imperfection. There's no imperfection to it. And I was completely blown away. Blown away.
Have you done your review yet?
I shot one, but I'm going to reshoot because I don't like how it turned out.
Do you normally do your rank? Because I'm curious to know what you gave this. If you include that in your video, I'll wait. But I am curious. I gave it about an 8.5 out of 10 because to me, like the low budget of these movies just adds to how much more they can do. Because if it gets a little bit more, then imagine what they can do. They did a lot with a little, in my opinion, and it had very strong writing and. I would just go forward and try to aim for the 9, in my opinion, because the first 3, who asked for that? You know what I'm saying? No one really asked for that. But then now that we got it, we realize it's such an underrated franchise. Like, I don't think it gets nearly the love that it deserves, to be honest with you. And I think this movie is a great continuation of that. It expands what we already know throughout this, through the lore of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And as long as I'm giving them the benefit of doubt. Every movie set the next one up perfectly. This one looks like it's going to set the next one up perfectly as well. So I'm curious to see what direction they go to. I love this franchise. I'm all for it. And like Zach was saying, visually, this movie was stunning. What they were able to accomplish with so little, like just how they looked, how they were able to emote. Now, a single point in time, I'm like, wow, I'm looking at, CGI on screen. I'm looking at 8. Like I felt the characters were real. And as long as you put out a movie that's character building, like Rise and Dawn, which a lot of people think, the name should have been swapped out, by the way. Rise and Dawn really told good stories. They didn't rely on a lot of action. So I don't think it needs to be very action based. But then, like with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it's telling a good story, but then you appreciate the smaller action scenes when you do get them. You know what I'm saying? Just because of how good it looks and visually how well these apes are looking in the action sequences. Like, it doesn't look fake at all to me. And if they're able to continue to accomplish this, and maybe us as content creators, you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to do our part as well with, promoting this movie out to get people to go see it. And, it may be a little bit bigger budget. Maybe they can do a little bit more action to do it. But I think plot, as long as it's plot and character centric, plot, characters, and conflict, I think those 3 can propel this movie to get to the 9 spot that they're looking for.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said there. And Ryan, I just can't wait for you to see it. I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, you guys have been a personal hype men for the movie. I'm very excited to see it.
I really hope you love it.
So the spoiler section at the end, though, this is what happened. Like, all of a sudden, Ryan his internet cuts out and stuff like that. But I think you'll enjoy it. Like, if you enjoyed the first 3, I think you'll enjoy it because it's a great continuation. Like, I loved it. But let me ask you guys something, Zach and T. Do you think it's very rewatchable?
For me, I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah. I won't go see it again in the theater, but I'm anticipating watching it again because there was so much that I missed that I've seen in other people's reviews, because it's so cool that everybody's seen something different in it. And I've listened to a lot of reviews over the last 24 hours since I dropped mine, and it just made me think, oh man, I missed that point. So it's like, I want to see it again. I might actually go see it in the theater again just to see some of those things that I missed, because while it was beautiful, there was a lot, like I felt like there was a lot going on, and there was a lot of things that I missed, even in the slower portions. Like, I feel like I might have missed a few things that propelled it to the love. Like, everybody I've talked to loved this movie.
There's just so many layers. There's so many layers on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Deep dive for sure on that one.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that you have to kind of see multiple times to really appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Because the first time you're watching the movies, you're taking it in. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in the theater, I'm in a little corner, I'm taking notes. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just like,
Oh, are you a note taker?
Yes, I am. I have my notepad on my phone and everything. So I go to like the corner where nobody else. So I don't want to interrupt anybody else's movie experience. So I'm like taking quick like bullet point notes, and then I'm kind of elaborating them as they're going on. But obviously you missed some stuff. You know what I'm saying? But like Zach had mentioned, Zach brought up a point that I mentioned in my review that not a lot of content creators are mentioning. The spirituality of this movie, the religious symbolisms and parallels of how like Caesar was basically like, Caesar's basically like ape Jesus, you know what I'm saying? Like the ape Messiah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how it how much it, its real world implications on that movie and stuff that we go through today, which is what I mentioned in, in my review, where it's like, his word, the fact that I like the fact that they put this so many generations past what we last saw from war, because then you can see how the word of Caesar is very misinterpreted through the clans and stuff like that. But then there are like parallels where like Proximus, is the main antagonist.
Let's not go too deep into the movie because Ryan still hasn't seen it.
I know. I'm just saying, like, you can relate to every character is what I'm saying. Like, you feel it because it's based on character building. You know what I'm saying? And they are giving real world stuff in this movie that makes it's well, I'm gonna tell you this, Ryan. It tells a very human like story through the eyes of apes, so it's very relatable. And I think that this movie, if they continue to do that, can be a very great franchise.
All right.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear.
All right, guys. With that, that's the show. That was the show. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you guys for being here. This was great as always, as it always is. And yeah, Ryan, cannot wait for your review. Cannot wait to see what you think of this film, dude. I really hope you love it as much as we did. Ace, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at the Ace Avenue. That's DAACE Avenue, where I do movie reviews. Just did my Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Also, very busy with the sports season. Your boy's getting burned out. Sorry for being late, guys. Like I said, I overslept my alarm. But that's where you can find me at DAACE Avenue. We are on the road to 2K.
That's amazing, dude. And also, like, thank you so much. Like, the fact that you set an alarm to be here and like that, honestly, I'm just very humbled and honored that you guys are like just that you love the show as much as I do and that you want to be here. And yeah, it just means a lot. It means a lot hearing that, man. So yeah, it's totally cool that you slept in, that you, like I'm just happy you're here. Like I'm happy you joined it all, man, because it's always great hanging out with you guys.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you for having this platform for us, man. Like I said, it goes without saying, without this, without Zach, none of us would be right here. And we've met some great people through this, and I think everybody needs to clap it up for Zach and everybody support, man. Let's get his channel as big as possible, man. You're on the road to 3K too, so yeah.
Yeah, we just crossed 2,700, so thank you all so much for that as well. Like, oh, it's been amazing. T, tell people where they can find you.
So you can find me at Have You Seen That with T, my YouTube channel. I just dropped my Kingdom of Planet of the Apes review as well. And the reason I was late, I was doing a Meet the Movie Tubers with Kenny Sparks, and we talked about you a lot, Zach. Like we talked about how you helped my channel, how you helped his channel, how we all met through you. Like you've become like at least to our movie tuber community. You've kind of been the hub. You've been like the guiding light, so to speak, the Caesar of our movie too.
I was just about to say that, dude.
But we definitely like for sure, man. Like I wish you nothing, but I enjoy doing this because I get to talk about the thing I love. I love watching movies with people who love watching movies just like me, and we don't always agree, but we have a great conversation.
Yeah,
and a lot of the times you kind of sway me to your side. A lot of the time, so I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate all those words, man. That's very, very kind of you. Got me a little teary-eyed there. I'm looking forward to that interview, by the way, too. I love Kenny Sparks' Meet the Movie Tubers. He's so good. He's so good at that. I love that series. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on it, man. Ryan, tell the people where they can find you.
All right, you can find me on YouTube and Letterboxd at Movie Reviews with Ryan Lane. I release about 2 reviews a week. I'll be releasing my review for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes later today, and keep an eye out this month for my reviews of the Mad Max franchise. The next movie coming up will be Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior.
Amazing, dude. Looking forward to that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We do have Michael Entity saying, sorry I couldn't make it, guys. Great to see you guys on the live stream. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes might be the best film of the year for me so far. It is in a race. I have to watch Dune Part 2 again, and I have to see this one again, but this could top Dune Part 2, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't believe, but I loved this film. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Take care.